All right, good morning, guys. We are going to get our call started for the day. Here with Agnes here. Sent out some information yesterday this morning about what we'll be talking about today. Can everybody see us? Give me a thumbs up. So, yeah, we're going to get the very first one. I have Gary kind of tell us about his story. He has a great story to share with you guys. Gary's a realtor here in this age of us. And he also, has worked in other.
Aaron, your mic is cracking.
Yeah. Yeah, you're coming in very, very badly.
All right, let me unmute. Hold on. How's that? Does that sound any better? Yeah?
That's better.
Okay, awesome. So Gary's first going to start out just telling you guys a little bit about himself and his story. He has some things he wanted to share, and then we'll kind of jump into some questions. And Jamie has some questions she wants to ask, and of course, all of you guys are welcome to share as well.
So, good morning, everybody. I've been all my life. Always related to
And
real
Gary.
estate, construction.
Losing you again. Bad connection.
General
Bad
contractor,
connection.
I was licensed in 6 states, and I've built projects as far east as Puerto Rico and as far south as Grand Cayman. And by the way of the real estate market, so goes construction. So that just means that I've reinvented myself 5 or 6 times in the 38 years that I've been self-employed. We are in a catastrophe. It's a terrible time, and there are a lot of people that are suffering in a variety of ways. It's real, and nobody doubts that. But like any other catastrophe, this too will pass. You have 2 choices. You can either let this catastrophe define you, or you can define what you want to get out of this catastrophe. All past catastrophes that I've dealt with, and some of them impacted, countries that were basically totally wiped out, and some were just areas that suffered a tremendous amount of damage. But in a catastrophe, there's 5 patterns. There's 5 steps in a definite pattern of a catastrophe. First, you have an event. We've had the event.
Right.
Everyone freaks out, or second, everyone freaks out and eventually figure out a way to gather themselves for temporary protection or temporary recovery. And then in a natural catastrophe, the insurance companies rush into an area and start infusing capital for rebuilding and to help people with their loss of use and additional living expenses, et cetera. What's different about this is we don't have the insurance companies pumping money into the economy, and this is a national disaster for us. I mean, it's a world disaster in reality, and different countries are affected differently. But instead of having insurance companies pumping money into the economies, we've got in the United States, we have the federal government pumping money into the economy. And so I would say we're in the 3rd phase of the catastrophe. The 4th phase is people start to rebuild their lives and rebuild their homes, and businesses start to recover financially. That's probably going to start to reveal itself in the next 2 weeks when the federal government starts making these personal checks to a lot of people. I don't think I'm going to be one of them, but I'm excited. I'm excited that people are going to get some cash, and there's people close to me that need that cash, and then the 5th step is the economy reestablishes itself, and it's been my experience that after a catastrophe, the economy of the affected area always goes back to better than what it was prior to the catastrophe. And that's because of all the additional capital that's pumped into the economy. And eventually there's a 6th step, and that's after the immediate uptick in the economy, then the economy goes back to something is comparable to what the economy was before the area was affected. So having said that, I'll just tell you what I'm doing. My teammates are telling me that they're connecting with more people on the phone than ever before. I know personally yesterday after the Zoom call, I was on the phone and I stayed on the phone until 3:30. I was talking to, I was doing hand holding, and I was talking to clients that I've been working with for years that are moving to the area and wondering if this is an opportunity for them to buy a home. I did sell a home this week. It was a client that I've been working with for about a year and a half. A year and a half ago, they had some credit issues. They had some capital issues. They took a year and a half to rebuild their credit and save some money for a down payment. We found an absolutely wonderful home. We actually found 3 that they liked. One they liked in particular, but they didn't think that they would be able to afford it. And I said, why don't we just go ahead and take a run at it? And lo and behold, we made an offer that was within their budget, but certainly much lower than the asking price. The property had only been on the market for 12 days. And the seller took it, without even a counter. And we were just shocked. And I think it's because the sellers probably were seeing a lot of showings, and then all of a sudden the showings stopped and they're like, oh no, are we going through another recession? This is a valid offer. Maybe we ought to just take it.
Right.
And so I think now is a buying opportunity for anybody that's serious. And I think the people that are serious about buying are still out there, and now's a great time to touch that person in some way. And I think the most effective way is through the phone.
So can we pause there for a second?
Yeah.
So I think that's really important that you guys kind of hear what Gary just said is there's still business to be conducted out there, right? It's not like everything's come to a screeching halt. I think Greg was telling me the other day that, even in the worst year, or it might have been on the Gary Keller call, but even in the worst year, after the crash in 2008, there were 4.2 or 4.3 million home sales in the United States. So people do not stop selling and buying real estate. We just need to do the things that put us in a position to serve them, because that's what we're about. We're about serving our communities, serving our clients. And, like Gary's saying, get on the phone. Laura, this morning before we got started, was telling me, let me unmute you, Laura, that what did you do this week? You said 2 times this week using phone calls or technology, you were able to.
Yeah, so
You have to look at it.
Hold on.
You have a manufactured trailer.
Laura, just unmute yourself and chime in, because there was a lot of background noise there when I unmuted everybody.
I said we took 2 listings this week via Zoom, my agents and I together.
Can you tell us what that looks like? What's your approach to that? What did that look like?
So I feel that I've really been focusing on meeting people where they are, and people are in fear, and they're not really, I found that they weren't responding well to us coming into their home for listing appointments. So I really changed the way I was approaching them. And I was like, hey, now's the time. You're quarantined. You could take this time to get your house ready. I'll get a home estimate available or ready for you, and I'll Zoom you, and we'll go over it that way instead. And that's what I've been doing. And people are just, they're using this time to get their house ready. We talk just like this. I share screen with them to go over all the documents. And that's just kind of the approach I'm taking, because I find that people are getting angry when real estate agents are trying to get into their homes. And I'm trying to meet people where they are right now versus push myself in front of them.
Yeah, so using technology like this, or like Gary said, it's a perfect time to get on the phone. He was having a conversation with Patrick Rowley this morning where he said, man, it's a whole lot easier to get people to answer the phone now. They're all sitting at home. So, if you're not doing that, I would highly suggest you get engaged in that piece of your business. So.
And I think people are curious as to what's going on in reality. And that's because they're uncertain, and they're watching this crap on TV, you know, from CNN or Fox News or whatever, which is nothing but, you know, how bad it is. And I think that they like hearing from somebody because, you know, a lot of people are just hunkering down. They're not calling their friends and they're not, you know, staying in touch. You know, they're calling their immediate family or because they're concerned about their immediate family, but they're not in the mood or the mindset to reach out to their friends.
Yeah.
And so, you know, it can be a warm, fuzzy call, you know, to hear from you and just hear your perspective on things. I also negotiated a deal, one of the biggest deals that I've worked on in a while. And that was because both parties they're still ready to do business. We had a motivated buyer, and we had a motivated seller, and you know, I just kept them together, and that's what we do. You know, I think we need to support those people and let them know that you know, there's still business to be done if people want to take the time and
Sure.
and can get their mindset off the TV. And
Yeah. And then, Jamie, you're still muted. I've been trying to unmute you, but you might have to do it yourself if you muted yourself. I know you had some things you wanted to talk to Gary about this morning. So if you can hit the unmute button and chime on in now, you can do that.
Okay, I hit it. Gary, I know we were talking. First, thank you for jumping on here this morning for everybody.
Sure.
It's amazing to have somebody like you that's jumping on, because I know we were talking about people who are new in business that maybe have never experienced, you know, a recession, something like this. You know, they respond differently. You know, some people, they'll, you know, like Joanne and Greg said yesterday, they'll pull their covers over their head, and some will use it as an opportunity to grow, you know, because something good, you know, is going to come out of that. And you've been through a lot of life experiences, not just in real estate, but through different recessions. And I guess for me is, what do you do because we can talk on Zoom and we can give great training, but what do you do to keep your mind strong in the right place to where you're able to push through and keep the right attitude and not operate in fear?
I just keep going. You know, you either push through this or it's going to consume you. You know, it's kind of like running through a fire. If you stop in the middle of the fire, you're going to burn to death. If you keep running, you'll survive. You know, you'll avoid the disaster of, you know, you may get singed a little bit, but you're not going to be destroyed. So it's a matter of just pushing through and like I said, you know, get up, make the calls, you know, start talking to people, and be available, you know, in case somebody does want to call you. And, you know, I've got clients in California that I've sold one property to, and they're wanting to move here and buy their forever home. And so they're, you know, the conversation went yesterday, well, we have a contract on our home. We're trying to figure out, you know, what we need to do to get out of here. And I said, you need to get out of there before something crazy happens, or they shut down the domestic travel, and you can't get out of there. And then at 10 o'clock last night, they announced on Fox News that the governor had told everybody that they had to stay at home for the state of California. So unfortunately, the timing was such that they couldn't get out. So now they can't get out. So they're a little frustrated. I said, not a problem. You know, you keep looking at properties. We'll FaceTime. I'll show the properties to you. We can put it under contract. We can ask for a 30-day feasibility period because of the uncertainty of the economy, and that'll give you plenty of time to drive from California to come look at the houses.
Right. Awesome. So is there anything else you have prepared that you wanted to share, or should we open up some other questions? Or Jamie, did you have anything you wanted to follow up with?
Well, I wanted to ask you, Gary, what would you say to the new agent? Because I know we've got a lot of successful agents, but maybe some of the newer agents that just started their business and, you know, maybe they're talking to people that are not in Keller Williams or maybe are new too. What would you say to them?
And I'm having that conversation. You know, I've got new recruits that are taking that were scheduled to take their exam this week, and the Pearson VUE is shut down. So they're saying now it's going to be sometime in April before you can take a test. And I'm telling them, sit down, go through your contacts, build your database so that when you do get your license, that you can hit the ground running. Take this as an opportunity to warm up to where you want to be, instead of sitting around and just thinking it's all doom and gloom. Prepare yourself, because when the recovery really starts, there's going to be a tremendous amount of activity, and you want to be prepared to jump in with everything that you have.
Yeah, and I think that's the consistent message I've been hearing from agents that have the right kind of attitude and mindset around what's happening right now is take this opportunity to work on your core business and your education, your connecting to your database and your sphere, focusing on the relationships you have. Because if you do that now, you're setting yourself up for success, in 30 days or 60 days or whenever the general public kind of reaches that comfort level of jumping back in and conducting, the same level of real estate business they were before. There's still plenty of business to be had out there, but certainly we're going to see an uptick when that comfort level is reached by the consumers that are out there. So that's been a consistent message for people like yourself and Charles and Joe and everyone else we've talked to this week is don't take your foot off the gas, right?
Well, if you have a pipeline, that pipeline may be backing up at this point, but when things change, everybody's going to rush out of your pipeline, and you've got to be prepared to handle 3 times as much business in much less time frame. So are you prepared, as an agent, as a seasoned agent, are you preparing to be able to deal with the demand on your time? I mean, I'd be getting my oil changed, and I'd be doing the things that distract me from being available for people in a time like now, so that I'm ready, my plate's clear, I can jump in there and I can give, the service that the clients are going to be demanding, so that I can take advantage of the opportunity. Awesome.
I think though sometimes agents, depending on the agent, can get distracted by things like this and then get out of action. And I know we're talking about action a lot, but there are clients, out there that, like we said, that are buying. I mean, and so, we're going to get what we really want in life. And so I appreciate you jumping on here and just sharing that you're actually in action and you are having deals, because I think it really depends on the client that you're speaking to, because people who have cash, people who have money, this is when they are buying, is when prices are reduced, and so I really appreciate you jumping on here and sharing that perspective with the agents.
Well, I'm telling my buyers, I'm telling them what just happened. We're making offers now below what we normally would make offers, because there's not as many people showing properties and not as many buyers that are getting a good feeling that that they're going to be able to get top dollar for their house if we go through a continued crisis.
Yeah.
And I tell my buyers, keep looking, and these are unique times, and we've got to have a unique mindset as far as, how's that offer going to look? How much time do we need for the feasibility period? Are we waiting out the economy? Are we really doing feasibility work? It's interesting that the home inspectors are still busy. They're still backed up. So there's a lot of people obviously moving forward on purchases, or at least considering purchases. And it's kind of like Christmas or Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
The buyers that are out in the market at Christmas and Thanksgiving are the serious buyers. Right. And we're in the same situation. The people that are going to be in the market are going to be the people that are motivated the most.
Yeah, because whatever's prompting them to need to buy or sell a house, or those things haven't changed. Things around us have changed, but their motivation is probably still there. They're still moving or downsizing or upsizing, or their kids are going to college or whatever it might be. Those life things haven't changed. You know, the world's changed a little bit. I'm working through that. But make sure we stay connected to their motivation. So that's this, guys. I'm going to unmute everybody. So if you're having any weird side conversations, now's the time to stop. And I'd love for you guys to just shout out some questions, comments. If you've got a question for Gary or anybody else on the call, you know, we've got Jamie on here. We've got our leadership team from the Bradenton office. We've got Greg and Joanne. Lots of resources on here. So I'm going to unmute the whole group, and we'd love to hear from you guys. So let's go.
Hello.
So take a look at this. Can you all see this? Can you see the information that's on here? This is information that Phil pulled up yesterday. And it says that currently in Manatee and Sarasota counties, there are 3,511 properties pending. In the last 7 days, 458 properties went pending.
Can you say that one more time?
Did everybody hear that?
Yeah, say that one more time.
In the last 7 days, 458 properties went pending. 207 in Manatee County and 251 in Sarasota County. Last 3 days, 181 properties went
They were
pending.
asking the president about it yesterday.
People are
Hey, Rex,
still.
you mute yourself.
You want me to mute myself?
No, Rex
In
is.
California, they
Say, we're hearing multiple
Mute
people.
everybody and I'll unmute you.
can't leave.
All right, Kim, go ahead and unmute yourself and let's do that again.
Unmute. Can
There
everybody
we
hear?
go.
Can everybody hear me?
Yes, perfect.
So Phil pulled up some numbers yesterday and shared them with our team. Carolyn, you've got these numbers already. In Manatee County, there's currently 3,511 properties pending. In the last 7 days, and this is as of yesterday, so in the last 7 days, there are 458 properties went pending, and in the last 3 days, 181 properties went pending. Share that information with your folks. People are, with your sellers too, people are still buying. That's a lot of property. That's a lot of contracts here.
That's the people that are, can you all hear me? Or,
Yeah.
That's the people that are motivated to begin with, and they're taking advantage of two things. They're taking advantage of people's fear and uncertainty as to whether or not they're going to be able to sell their home, and they're taking advantage of the low interest rates.
Right. Awesome.
All
Thank
right,
you so much.
see you.
Hey, Kim, why don't you email me that information and I'll just send it out. We'll share it on Facebook or send it out to the office by email.
You got it.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
You're
So
welcome.
anyone else who'd like to speak
That's
up,
all
unmute
compliments of
yourself,
Phil
because
Paxton.
obviously me unmuting everybody didn't work too well. So unmute yourself and chime in. I'd love to hear from everybody on the call. We've got about 5 minutes left, so let's have a conversation.
But if nobody has anything else to say, I would like to say I'm the chairman of the growth committee, and this is an opportunity to be reaching out to the people.
Huron, we can't hear him again. It's bad again, at least for me. The reception.
How does that sound?
That's better.
Okay, so I'm the chairman of the growth committee for the ALC, and I just wanted to mention, you know, that a couple of things. Jamie and you and I talked about me doing a meeting or workshop or some training on how I'm building my downline, which is kind of unique from the perspective of most people that are working on a downline. And there's a lot of people that would like to know how to build a downline, and this is a great time to train, you know, because some people want that training. And so one thing that I'd like to do is, as soon as we can have a group meeting, is get with Huron and let him show me how to show my website and talk about how I'm driving traffic to it and how that's working for me.
Awesome. Yeah, and you know, when it comes to growth of the office, you know, you're also, if we do engage with our colleagues from other companies right now, you know, they're going through a lot of what we're going through, and they unfortunately might be with a company that isn't offering the support Keller Williams is offering, right? We've got, you know, Gary Keller and Josh team and the team at KWRI and agents around the country have really jumped in with both feet on this, and they're, you know, giving up their time and resources, and they're really trying to put systems and things in place to support our our agents throughout the country. And some of our colleagues may not be getting that. They may be, they may not, we don't know. So have a conversation with them, invite them to calls like this, invite them to the live streams that KWRI are doing. You know, there may be something that can just help them move forward in their business that they may not have access to right now. So just provide value, you know, come from contribution to your clients, but also to our colleagues out there, because they're hurting, you know, just like we are.
No, you're absolutely right. I'm hearing that some of our competitors have just closed their doors, sent their staff home and said, you know, we're gonna wait this out. You know, that's not the entrepreneur environment that I joined Keller Williams to be a part of.
Yeah, hope is not a strategy, guys. You need to have a plan for moving forward, and I think we're all doing a great job of you know, putting a plan together, whether it's Jamie, you know, heading that up at the office and the staff executing, whether it's you all in your individual businesses. We need to have a plan to move through this and be strong and come out the other side even stronger. So,
Right.
I want to share too just a little bit about the Zoom calls with the agents that are watching. I've been sending the videos to the agents, whether they're, you know, bigger agents or whether they're just brand new agents, and I'm getting texts back. And basically what I'm doing is I'm sharing them, and I'm just saying, hey, just thinking about you. I knew that this would really encourage you in your business, and it's really deepening the relationship. And so I would really encourage the agents to share all of these Zoom calls. And I've been getting a lot of great feedback, like, thank you so much. Thank you for, and they're wanting to meet with me, whether it's in person or whether it's, you know, over a FaceTime. But I just wanted to just say that, and to thank the agents that have shared, because the thing about it is, it's one thing to lead when things are really great, but how you can really see what a leader is made of is how they respond in the dark time, how they respond in a valley. That's when you really, anybody can be great when things are great, but you really find out who somebody is when things go down. And so I know that that's the kind of office and team that we have, and leaders. And I want the world to know that. I want them to be able to see who you guys are and who we are, you know, as a team. And so I know people have been very impressed with what they've heard. And I just would encourage you guys to text that over to them if you haven't.
I would just pro tip on sharing these calls, if you do want to do that. The links that you're getting to log onto the calls live, you can just share that with anyone. They can log right onto the call like you guys do. If you want to share a recording of the call, you're not going to be able to share that from our private Facebook group on Facebook, because that's a private group, so you can't share out from it. What you can do is click on the link. That's going to take you to YouTube, our YouTube channel, and you can share from YouTube to anywhere you want, right? Because that's public. So just in case any of you are thinking about doing that, that's the process for that.
Hey,
So
Karen
before-
and Ann.
Yeah, go ahead.
Linda McKissick said something yesterday that was reiterated on the Shift Daily Perspective site. And she said this is about taking mind share, not just market share. That right now, the things that we're doing to connect with people and to connect with one another are really going to create patterns into our pipeline that will pay off later. So for those of you who are feeling down, please don't, because you really are taking those footsteps and doing a great job. If you feel like you haven't taken footsteps, please reach out. And remember that in the classic bold, they talk about building the structure and having that great foundation. Hear what Gary said today. Shore up that foundation. If you don't know Command well enough to do a digital open house, take the video again and watch it. But we have so many great things to use. So learn them.
Great. Thank you so much. So before I have kind of Gary close us out, because we're coming up on the end of our time, I did want to give you guys a couple pieces of information. First off, if you haven't seen it already, we're posting it every day. KWRI put together an amazing series of short, bite-sized webinars every day, 20 to 30 minutes. And you have some of the top people in our industry facilitating these webinars. Pablo CEOs and Seth Campbell and top individuals both in the industry as a whole. And we're giving the time to kind of give back to our Keller Williams family.
Karen, we can't hear you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.